What's up, Internet World? We're the News 19 Nerds. I'm Leroy.
My name is Kovacs.
I see. This could be a long...
I can't be Kovacs?
No, you can't.
Why not? Anybody can be Kovacs.
No.
That's what this show taught us.
Kovacs can be anybody.
Anybody
can't be Kovacs.
Anybody can wear his sleeve?
No.
Sure they can.
No, they can't.
It might be illegal, but you can do it.
No.
Other people can do whatever. Yeah,
we're gonna do our version of a Netflix season review.
Like Witcher.
Yeah, but this one is different because there wasn't a season 1.
Uh-huh.
So this is what's gonna be interesting. You watch them all together.
Pretty close. Yeah,
and so
close.
I watched season 1.
Mm-hmm.
Went back and watched a couple episodes, and then watched the explainer, and then I watched season 2.
Uh-huh.
So how you feel about it is gonna be different than how I feel about it.
Okay.
Based on give me your take about the entire show. What do you think?
All right, so background, Altered Carbon came out 2018.
Mm-hmm.
I tried probably 3 or 4 times to watch it.
Really?
Yeah, and for some reason, I guess I wasn't giving the show enough respect. Mm-hmm. And I thought it was going to be kind of a popcorn type thing of you can kind of watch bits and pieces. No, you really need to pay attention. It's kind of like how Lauren is with Westworld. Uh-huh. You need to pay attention because you got cortical stacks, you got DHF, you got real deaths. You're like, there's too many phrases going on, and I wasn't giving it enough
you got
respect.
People called meths.
Yeah, I was like meths, like Methuselah. Like I like the idea, but meth is a weird phrase, but I like it. Okay. So yeah. I kept putting it off, and then season 2 was coming out, mm-hmm. and you told me to try it again, and I did, and I really enjoyed it after I put the time in to watch it. Enjoyed season 1 a lot. Season 2 I liked as well. Are we just going right into it, or?
Well, I mean, we could still go a little.
Yeah, I just right off the bat, I'll say I think I enjoyed season 1 more than season 2.
I did too.
I guess this show I learned a lot about myself through this show. I think I was sleeping on Joel Kinnaman. That's the guy, right? That's his name?
Okay. No comment.
I didn't really like him. And maybe it's just stuff he's been given. RoboCop I didn't like.
That's not fair to him.
Okay, but what I'm saying is I didn't like that. Also, I didn't like him in Suicide Squad. But to be fair,
not fair to him either.
I only liked Margot Robbie and Will Smith. And really, I only liked the one line that Will Smith said when "Get my girl into the white colleges." I was like, yeah, that was hot.
See, I've liked Joel Kinnaman because I watched the AMC show, The Killing.
Okay.
I really love that show.
Okay.
It's, if you hadn't seen it, the first season is great. Mm-hmm. The second 2 seasons, they kept trying to keep going, and it goes back to that idea what we were talking about when we mentioned not Westworld, the Watchmen and The Outsider. If you got a great season, mm-hmm.
Wrap it up.
Wrap it up.
Okay.
Because sometimes when you go a little further, and I think that show suffered from that. I really like Joel Kinnaman, and I really enjoyed him in that first season.
Okay.
I still like season 1 more than season 2. Mm-hmm. I love Anthony Mackie. However, I had a rough time with him being Takeshi Kovacs.
Something about his delivery, I couldn't buy it. Like whenever he was yelling, like when Joel Kinnaman would yell and show emotion, I bought it. But whenever he did it, it seemed weird to me. And it kind of reminds me, not the same thing, but whenever RZA from Wu-Tang is in a movie, I can never buy RZA in a movie because it's RZA. He does this thing with his voice, and it's just him. Hey, Wu-Tang is incredible. RZA, great rapper. But as an actor, something about him, I can never take him seriously. And every time I see him, I was like, it's going to be wild.
Did you see him in Repo Man? Did you like him in that?
I know.
Really? Okay.
Because I just like, the only movie I did like him in was...
Please don't say The Iron Fist.
I like that movie, but not because of him. I like it because it's so dumb and bad. But I am like, RZA's horrible in this. Did you see him in Brick Mansions? The remake of District B13 or whatever?
B12.
Whatever it is. Yeah, he did like the remake Brick Mansions.
Yeah.
With Paul Walker before he died or whatever. He was in that.
Paul Walker.
Yeah, he was in that. As the bad guy.
I didn't watch that.
It was something else.
Okay.
He was also in a movie with Sam Rockwell and...
I've probably seen it then.
Who is the girl?
If it's Sam Rockwell.
Mr. Wrong, I think it's called. Sam Rockwell plays a hitman.
Oh yeah, old girl from Pitch Perfect.
Yes. oh, cutie little girl. And I wish,
Anna Kendrick.
Yes, thank you for that name. I didn't want you to say that, but yeah, he's in that. I like him in that.
I hadn't watched that one.
I like
Anthony Mackie was the same.
Something about his voice, his cadence.
So
it's hard for me to buy.
my problem was I didn't buy Anthony Mackie as Takeshi Kovacs except for certain instances. It wasn't until the end of the season where I was like, it was almost like it took a couple of episodes before he became, and I felt like he was trying to mimic Joel Kinnaman's acting instead of making the character his own.
Okay.
Even though to me that's how I felt. I thought the first season was very well done, but it had its problems, and I thought season 2 they would fix those problems. Altered Carbon has always been I've enjoyed it, and it's always been kind of personal to me because it's that cyberpunk, that whole idea. So I read the book. I read the first 2 books, and I was like, oh, we're gonna get this movie or show that basically delves into what does it mean to be you, kind of like Ghost in the Shell did, and Standalone Complex, and in Second Gig. The idea that if you can sleeve yourself in anything.
Did I get that back to you?
Huh?
Did I get that back to you?
Oh yeah, I got that back.
Okay.
Yeah.
Couldn't remember. I thought I saw it.
Yeah, I didn't want to have to break in your house.
Sorry, go ahead.
But that idea, and I felt like this is a show, especially in 2020, that we could have talked about what is sexuality, what is this whole idea behind race, nationality. That doesn't mean anything when you can be anything.
That was a very cool concept to see in, I guess, maybe the first season when a little girl, I guess, dies, and the only sleep that her family can afford is an older woman. And hats off to these actors who, I don't know their names because they're bit players, they're not main characters, but just, I thought they conveyed so much in that little bit of screen time of, oh, this is a little girl trapped in an older woman's body. She doesn't know what this is.
And the idea that not only that you could be anything and anyone, that class really plays a part in it because it's based on what you can afford.
Yeah.
If you're rich, you could be a woman, and that whole idea behind who you, and what you identify with, how we're dealing with that now, the use of pronouns, the idea that we have a community who's saying, how do you identify? And now you have it in a physical, tangible form. I thought that was set up very well in season 1. I thought that was literally left on the cutting room floor in season 2.
They didn't really touch on it a lot. Another thing that I liked was, talking about season 1 so much, but just setting up for season 2. Who is the black guy's his like sidekick for
Chris Connor, Poe?
No. That's the AI. Vernon.
Oh, yeah. Well,
Vernon,
he wasn't really a sidekick. He was...
I mean, what was he? He wasn't his partner. I mean, I guess he was his reluctant partner.
But remember, he in the end, he was his friend because remember, he needed his help.
Right.
The whole idea behind Miss Elizabeth.
Yeah.
And finding his kid and then finding out what happened to her and then the whole wife.
Yeah, Vernon, and then the wife was in somebody else and it was a guy, but they did a good job of showing people being able to identify the person by their stack through their eyes.
Yes.
You always hear the thing, the windows are the eyes to the soul. Is that?
Eyes are the windows to the soul.
Yes, thank you. I knew I was messed up. Eyes are the windows to the soul. I think this show did a good job of showing that. People could identify people by looking in their eyes. It didn't matter what suit you had.
You could tell who that person was.
Yeah,
and
I thought that was cool.
I felt that was, and I in my head, I want to say it was betrayed in season 2, but I don't want to be that harsh. But I do feel like that idea was left, that they did not delve into it as much as they could have. I feel like they built up this whole idea behind, okay, we did that in season 1. Now let's just, and I was like, they didn't do a good job with that.
Was there anything that you liked about season 2?
Season 2, Chris Connor deserves to be nominated for whatever award.
Who's Chris Connor? Is that Poe?
He's Poe.
Man, I didn't think I could feel for. Granted, he is a person, but I'm like, I believe in being an AI.
And he, to me, was what I as much as I love this storyline, as much as I love this show, he was the reason why I kept coming back.
I was like, yeah.
Because I literally was like, Anthony Mackie, man, I love you, friend of the show.
Yeah.
But I was like, I wasn't feeling him until the end. Every episode Poe was on. Chris Connor.
And who was the female AI that was the archivalist?
Dig.
I liked her too.
She was good.
Both those actors did a good job of making them seem like
Real
AIs,
people.
but real people.
And
Yeah.
I really, her later on, but really Chris Connor, and I want to make sure it's Chris Connor because I want to make sure I'm saying that's his name. Yes, Chris Connor.
Yeah.
He was the one who made me say, and it's so, and I hate to discount anybody else because Simone Missick was very good.
Underutilized, I thought.
I really was, but I felt like he was the reason why I came back because I wanted to see how his story developed.
Mm-hmm.
Over anybody else in this season, he was the one where I was like, what is he going to do? How is he going to adapt? How is he going to grow as a character? And I really, really there were moments where I felt for him over Anthony Mackie's character.
For sure. I don't know if that was by design because to me it makes sense that you would want Anthony Mackie to be like your most sympathetic character, but I didn't get that.
No.
And I don't know if that was by design or what. But whatever it was, Poe was my number one, and then the archivalist Dig was my number two. When I guess the evil Kovacs came, and I don't even know how you want to name all the different Kovacs.
So I watched it with subtitles.
Uh-huh.
Anthony Mackie is listed as Kovacs Prime.
Ah, okay.
And so it's interesting you bring that up
Yeah.
because there were a couple. I think maybe the fifth or sixth episode, like some of the dialogue was just to, and I was like, "Is this the audio?"
Yeah.
I was like, "This better not be my TV I just bought."
Yeah.
I turned on subtitles.
Yeah.
And it kept saying Kovacs Prime, and I was like, "Oh, that's how they identified it."
So the evil Kovacs or whatever, who came back in the other suit again, the double sleeve or whatever, he did something to the AI where he was able to do like an overwrite code or something, and it was interesting. And I'm not going to compare the two, but in a way, it seemed like he was violating her.
It was a violation.
It was a violation, and I don't know if they meant it to be like a sexual assault or something, but I felt that way about it, and it was like it made me uncomfortable in a good way. It's like that's interesting.
It's good, and I felt the same way. I felt like one of the things that I liked about that part was when the re-sleeve Kovacs shows up. That's to me when I saw a difference between the two, and I was like, okay, here's where Anthony Mackie is shining. It was when the second Kovacs shows up, where I was like, okay, now I'm a little bit more invested in you, and I don't know if that was by design. I felt like the beginning of this season was not set up well, or the writing left a lot out.
So they went to Harlan's World.
Harlan's World.
That was never established in season 1, right?
So Harlan's World kinda was.
Okay.
So let's start with season 2. Season 2 is Takeshi Kovacs is running around trying to find Chris Falconer, his love interest.
His names, yes.
His love interest from his time as a last envoy, and she helped train him. She helped get him away from SeaTac, and his sister told him she's alive, or her stack is she's alive. This is where I was like, okay, maybe we're going to get this idea of self, because the first episode we see Simone Missick show up, and we see this whole fight between where's the money, and it's this woman who walks out, and you realize, oh, he's been in that sleeve.
Yeah.
I feel like it was one of those things where it was overlooked a little bit, that these people feel so comfortable sleeving into different things, and I felt like that was something they could have done a better job with. We see him take a job that he didn't want to take.
Yeah.
And it was one of those things where you're like, he took this job, he didn't want to take it. He's going to be accused of this, all these people dying because he was supposed to be a bodyguard, and it was set up to be like, okay, who did this? His girlfriend is back, and I was like, okay, let's see where this goes. As the show went on, I felt it went more, more fighting versus talking. And that's where I was like, I understand the fighting is important, but I felt like the relationships needed to be built up. I thought Simone Missick, I felt her storyline wasn't given enough justice.
Yeah, like I didn't really get this. We didn't spend enough time with her wife and her son, who has a new sleeve or whatever, trying to get used to that new sleeve. Talking about the choreography and the fighting, I liked it overall from season 1 and season 2. I don't know who was the stunt coordinator or whatever, but they do a good job of setting up these scenes and slowing stuff down at the right points to make everything look really crisp and really clean. Overall, it just seemed like it flowed very well. The wire work in it's great. Nothing looks too out of place. One thing I didn't like, and it's just a small thing. So the new sleeve, Anthony Mackie, that sleeve has the ability to draw guns. Every time he drew guns, it didn't look right to me, and I don't know what it was.
It was kind of jarring. The idea behind the sleeves I thought was missed. That each sleeve is different, and that I thought it was almost like, and maybe it's because they were trying to make the show a little broader, or trying to make it so that a broader audience could watch it and enjoy it. And I get that, but I kind of feel like, make it techie, make it, and I understand that whole idea behind commerce and art, but I wanted it to be more techie, more cyberpunky, more of that. Harlan's world was the world where him and his sister, Quellcrest Falconer, the whole revolution started because she designed stacks and helped this whole technology and this whole industry grow, and then she rebelled against it. So he was going back home, back to Cali. I don't do it as well as Lauren, so but the whole idea that he went back to where it all started, and I love that idea. I love that idea that you're going home, and that whole idea you can never go home again. I like that, and I just felt like it was not done well enough to make me care. I feel like they wasted Neil McDonough. Like he was just
I was
like really.
I could have just got any actor if that's the case.
And I felt like that. I felt like you had Neil McDonough, and that's the best y'all could do.
Yeah.
The woman from Power.
Layla Lauren.
That's her name.
Yep. Oh, I looked her up. She's an attractive woman. I looked her up.
I don't know how I feel about her. Because I feel like...
I like her in Power. In this...
I hate her in Power.
Really?
Oh my gosh, I hate her in Power.
I think a lot of the people...
I hate everybody in Power.
I think everybody in Power kind of sucks because everybody doesn't want Ghost to just... Ghost, man, side note, just let Ghost be... Let him chill.
I'll be honest with you.
Why y'all won't let that man get out the light?
Ghost pisses me off too because I'm like, yo, man... You know you got shady people around you. Why don't you just put two in the back of everybody's head?
Because he's trying to be different.
No, man.
He's trying to get away from that life.
I'm sorry. You in that life, son. Ain't no rainbows and sunshine in the drug game.
He's trying to get out. Let him run his little nightclub.
I'm just like, yo. I would have killed Tommy long time ago. I love Tommy. Tommy would have got two in the back from season 1.
Y'all let us know if we should do a Power review.
Nah, I can't. I got out of season 2. I can't. After season... you know who I like on... You know who I like on Power? There are 2 people I like on Power.
50?
Yeah. You know why? Because 50
is about that life?
He is unabashedly about that life.
Yes.
Where everybody else has these... I don't know. No. Kanan? That's the only person I like on the show.
You said 2 people. Oh, just him? It's just one? You said 2
Kanan?
people. Tasha?
No.
Oh, okay.
I'm trying to remember. It'll come to me. But there's literally only 2 people on that show I like.
Okay.
But
back to this.
This has been your power break.
Right.
I went from liking her and understanding her to not liking how they did her.
She seemed like a caricature at the
Yes,
end, kind of, right? It's
and because I felt like the whole idea behind usurping power, taking it, being a woman and saying I'm gonna flex my power. I really liked that. But then there were times it was like the cheeky super villain.
Yeah.
And I didn't like, because there were times when she was like with Carrera, I felt like, oh,
Who's Carrera again?
Carrera was the SeaTac colonel.
Oh,
who was really
the older guy from season 1. Yeah, yeah.
Who was really somebody else. And that's the thing that I didn't like, that they didn't do a good job of making those connections between season 1 and season 2 with different people.
Now this had 8 episodes. Season 1 had 10 episodes. Do you think it would have benefited from more? Because I think a criticism that we always lean or levy towards Netflix shows is make them shorter. That was the big thing for a lot of the MCU shows. We don't need 13 episodes. Make them shorter. Do you think this would have been better with 10 or?
No, I think that and I don't want to bash anybody because the writing was off. You could have taken out some of the fighty scenes and had more dialogue, because the scenes that you remember are the actual interactions. The way you felt about a character is the interactions that they have with each other. The reason why you care about Takeshi Kovacs and his relationship with Ortega was because they had these scenes together. You cared about you cared about Poe because of his interaction with Takeshi Kovacs, the interaction he had with Miss Elizabeth and keeping her memory alive. I felt those were the ones that made you want to keep watching the show. And I felt like they got away from that and just turned into a Fight Club type show.
Yeah.
I wrote down, of course you guys know I wrote some notes. And this is where I kind of like, I really think they didn't do a good job with certain things, like the technology of the future. You have the ability to transfer consciousness digitally through whatever radio waves, Wi-Fi, whatever. You only got closed captioning, CCTV in the future.
What do you mean?
So remember when they kept looking for people and they were like, how do we locate these people? How do we, like,
oh, okay.
Y'all don't have cameras all over it? Like,
right,
I just felt like there were things where it's like, if you have an ability to have an Omni in your eye, and they know if you turn your Omni off, y'all can't hack Omnis. Like, I felt like there was times when the technology didn't make sense. And it was kind of like going back to your part, or how you talk about in certain shows, it was a cop-out. Like, the whole idea behind when we did The Outsider and season 10, episode 10, I'm sorry. And not to spoil it, but you were like, Jack did something, and you were like, that didn't make sense. It didn't jive with the rest of the show.
Right.
I felt like technology was not utilized well in this season, or they didn't explain why we can do some things here, we can't do some things. Like in Blade Runner follows a timeline of, they don't have the internet, they don't have certain things, and you go with it. Y'all can transfer consciousness on PSP disc.
Pretty much. Yeah.
Your DHF is basically a PSP disc in the back of your neck. Y'all ain't got, like, the UK has CCTV everywhere. Y'all ain't got that in the future?
Yeah.
And you have needle casting. And that really bothered me. I felt like if you're gonna have guns, and they talked a little bit about this in the books, change up some of the hardware with these guns. Like, change up, like, we have guns now. You have black talon bullets, you have 50 cal, you don't have any variation, like when you go in the army, don't just grab, just take that, like, explain.
But is it like a thing of, because what is it to shoot a body? It doesn't mean anything, right?
True, but that's
I guess they're just.
But that's my point. Why do you not have weapons? If I shoot you, I can infect you, so you can't needle cast out. Like, I guess that's some of the things that I thought was, where's the imaginative storytelling to say, this is the future. We don't just have guns. We have guns that can put you down.
Okay.
Or where's where I can, the one thing you heard it in the first episode, sleeve jacking. You can't ride someone else's sleeve, or can you? That whole idea was like a throwaway line. And I'm like, well, let's talk about that. Let's delve into some of those things. And that's why I said, I felt like season 1 was more fleshed out because it was that inaugural and everybody cared, and that like, they were kind of like, season 1 was good. Okay, now let's just do this. I really, really felt like, hold on, I want to look at some of my notes.
Sure.
The one thing I felt like they did do kind of a good job was that they did show there's always class and there's always money. There's
Right.
always the haves and have-nots.
Right.
And I felt like that was really interesting, that you had Simone's character and her wife, and they had a child whose sleeve wasn't paid for.
Right.
Like, go into that a little bit. This whole idea behind you could be financially fleeced because you're continuing to pay for that sleeve. Like, you could go into debt.
Yeah.
I like that a little bit. I like the idea of, and one of the things that I thought was wild was, remember the black guy who had like the DHF disc or the stacks, and there were hundreds of them, and then people were like going through like, and you realize that those are people.
Right.
I kind of felt like they should have lingered a little bit on that whole idea behind, you could just be pulled out and thrown on the ground, and you're
done.
You're done.
Yeah.
So the episodes 1, 2, 3, 4, I felt like kind of were set up.
And these were all of season 2.
Season 2.
Right.
One of the things that kind of bothered me, that it stuck with me, why didn't the wound heal when Quellcrest Falconer stabbed Takeshi when he got out?
Yeah, because they kept saying like this sleeve had advanced healing technology,
And
right?
that one wound never healed.
Yeah.
That always bothered me.
Yeah.
Like, it always just kind of, got me. I felt like there should have been more of a discussion about the underground sleeve stealing. I thought that was something, like, there were so many, I guess, missed opportunities that they focused on this storyline, and it didn't sell me on it.
It's like they were so focused on getting from point A to point B, they didn't give you enough time to build everything around it, kind of. And I get that. Maybe. So I think we both agree that we like season 1 more than season 2. I still like the show overall, though.
Oh yeah.
And I would be happy for a season 3. And I
well,
would
you
like
know,
to,
we're getting another. So on March the 19th, I believe it is. There's a trailer that was released for a Altered Carbon anime.
Oh.
So
Okay.
that came out from one of the writers of Ghost in the Shell, I believe it is. We put it on our Facebook page.
Okay.
So if you just type in Netflix Altered Carbon anime, it pops up.
Yeah, so I mean, I would like to see the story continue, and I would love to see another live action season 3. You know, full 8 episodes, 10 episodes, whatever, of another character to be Takeshi Kovacs, just to see where that goes. Person we haven't talked about yet is Quellcrest Falconer.
Yeah.
Played by Renee Elise Goldsberry? Is that her name? Yeah. Shout out to her, because that is also the original Angelica Schuyler from Hamilton, and she's just multi-talented. I just want to say
Okay.
that. I like her.
I liked her.
Yeah.
I really liked her. I loved her when she was the whole teaching the envoys. Like, I felt like that did not get enough attention. Her character didn't give enough attention and deference, that she literally started a revolution to bring back death.
Yeah.
I feel like that was not handled well, and her character, and to me, I felt like she did an excellent job of showing someone who wasn't in control of their body and not knowing why. And I felt like she did a really good job, even though she was left kind of not handled well. I really like Will Young Lee. He was the original Kovacs. I thought he did one of the best jobs with the least amount of time on screen.
Because every time we saw him, he was like a different version of a Kovacs, and he felt like a different person, which was, I thought that was cool.
And also, I felt like it wasn't until he showed up that I really believed there were 2 of them, because of how he handled things. And we saw, we've been given spoilers, but, kind of for the whole show, because we're doing a review. I felt what he did to Dig was how there's a difference between how Anthony Mackie should have carried himself and done things versus how his older self would handle things, who was still in SeaTac, who would have...
When you say older, you mean younger.
Younger, I'm sorry.
Right.
So when the younger William Lee versus Kovacs Prime.
Right.
Kovacs Prime handled things differently. He did at least try to talk and try to, whereas younger Kovacs was like, oh, I'm just gonna shoot this guy's stack out.
Yeah, like
that was just...
I have no diplomacy.
It was
he
was ruthless, and that's how SeaTac operated.
Yeah.
I felt like they should have done a better job of showing SeaTac is this merciless organization that the ends justified the means, and I felt like they did a little bit of that, and I felt like they should have shown how much of a Gestapo they kind of were. The jackbooted thugs that they were walking around, and I felt like you should have seen them roughing up people. You know, this whole idea of working for the Protectorate and saying, we are law and order. And that's where I kind of liked old girl from Power. You said her name was...
Layla Lauren.
Was that her name in the show?
It was Danica?
Danica Harlan.
Was it Danica?
Yeah, it was Danica Harlan.
Yeah.
That's where I liked Danica. I liked that character because she was the person who was like, I am not going to just bow down to the Protectorate. That's where I liked her. And I feel like it just got a little convoluted between Danica and then you had the older Methuselahs who had done this thing, and we hadn't even really talked about it, this idea of the elders and explaining that the elders were a whole nother race.
Yeah.
And this whole idea that we're living in a world that we're living in a galaxy where we have touched alien life, and alien life has touched us, and we're still learning this. I felt that was kind of wasted. But I think the best thing that they did on the show was towards the end, this idea where Anthony Mackie and got with Quell Falconer, where he was like, why does everything have to end with you dying?
Right.
And I thought that's when I was like, that's what it was like, that moment where you were like, finally, where's this dude been the whole time?
That was last episode?
Yeah, it was like...
Or the next last episode?
You're
like, oh, about to wrap it up.
Yeah,
right.
and I'm like, where was this guy before? And I felt like they should have shown, because I really hated how he treated Poe. Like,
yeah, he was so
pissed.
And I never felt like when season 1 Kovacs, he didn't seem that mean to Poe to me.
No, he didn't.
It almost seemed like they were kind of
they were a team.
They were a team. They were kind of like joke with each other or whatever. But he wasn't just like mean to him. This guy was just mean. And they were trying to get to the point that he really cared about Poe, and I guess he was trying to be mean because he wanted him to reboot because he didn't want him to do whatever. But I guess there was like a disconnect for me of...
Yes.
He could have been nicer or something. There was something
Not only
missing.
that, the thing that bothered me was, you understand what it is to be human, but you also understand what it means to be rebooted and not know where you are, and to have, like, a lot of people don't realize that Takeshi Kovacs was trained, like, the whole idea behind the last envoy, they're shadows, they're these wonderful terrorists who are violent and then can be anywhere. And I felt like you should have had more compassion for Poe dealing with memory loss. And the reason why he was having this memory loss was helping your punk ass.
Yeah.
And not only that, he wanted to hold on to Miss Elizabeth, who had some of the worst things happen to her. Like, why? He wasn't just a computer program. And he was your only friend. He is your only friend. Where everybody else literally is using you for a means to an end.
Right.
Poe just wanted to hang out with you. And I felt like that was missed. There were some great scenes. There was a scene in this that reminded me of the Casino Royale shower scene. Do you remember that?
Oh yeah, because it kind of shot the same way. She's sitting in the corner, vulnerable, exposed, and he comes in and covers her. I was like, yeah, because when I saw it, I was like, is this Casino Royale?
and that's where I was like, that was perfect. And I'm like, and there would kind of be these bland moments, and then there would be these moments of just raw emotion, and you're like, oh. That got me. And then you're like, huh, I get it. And that's where I felt like there was a disconnect in this season, so to speak. looking at some of my notes. I wrote "deserve to die, never ask why." I don't know what's that
Okay.
in reference to. That's towards the end. But
Is it Danica Harlan?
No, because Danica's death bothered me too, or Danica's betrayal bothered me because in the same sentence or the same episode, you had a situation where Takeshi Kovacs, played by Anthony Mackie, says you always see the angles, but you ain't see that woman carrying a box with a gun in it. Like I was like, and I felt like there was just things that were left that weren't handled well.
Okay.
And I felt like they just answered it with more fighting. I loved when Simone's character jumped into Anthony Mackie's sleeve. And
that was cool. Yeah.
I like those. That goes back to you when they were like, well, who are you? And she's like, that's Mom. And the little boy, those little things, I thought should have been done better. Because those were what made the show. This idea that, oh, I can just, and then get back up as somebody else.
Yeah.
I just, again, and I hate to keep belaboring different points and make it seem like I didn't like the show. I really liked the show. I really think this is our Blade Runner to a certain extent. But I feel like, to me, the pinnacle of these type shows, or this show, has always been and will always be Standalone Complex and Second Gig. Those 26 episodes are unlike anything else to me. And I feel everybody else is trying to get to that level. And that's how I feel about this season.
So are you getting excited for Cyberpunk 2077 now after seeing Altered Carbon? I was like, yeah, I want to get a controller now and control some people in the Cyberpunk world.
It made me mad that shit get me late watching this. Because I was like,
yeah.
Man. I thought certain actors and actresses did a good job, but I felt like this whole Methuselah thing wasn't done well.
I like the idea of, I think that was a clever name of meths being Methuselahs, being the oldest living people. I thought that was cool. I thought they were handled better in season 1 and season 2.
Oh, yeah.
And I think maybe the show really relied on they told you so much in season 1, they didn't really have to rehash it anymore in season 2. So they're like, yeah, don't worry about building the world out anymore. And I don't know if that worked as well.
I wish it was earlier. When Neil McDonough and all the Methuselahs came down and saw the elder eggs or whatever they were, that scene was just, that's when you realize you're watching, and that's where I was like, where is more of this?
Right.
That was just straight pure greed. Like that idea that this is my world. And I felt like that should have been played up more, that these people who, they wanted something that did not belong to them, and everything that they were willing to do to get it was justified. And I felt like that should have been played up more, because that was such a great scene that you see all of these people and they're literally shooting, and then you had the one guy who was like, man, hey, this go come back on us. And, and hundreds of years go by, it doesn't. But you realize that, and that idea that this elder is so angry. But I also felt like the elder was the bad guy, when, I'm be honest with you, I didn't see a problem with how she felt. Like, when you really think about why she was angry and why she was upset.
Yeah.
I'm not all for mass murder and everything, but you did kind of deserve what happened to you.
Yeah, but I mean, I guess that's also the standpoint of, I guess that shows you a multi-layered character, right?
Yeah.
She's not just the elder isn't just an out-and-out villain. There's a reason for the elders doing what they're doing. And
that's why I felt like Carrera and Danica were out-and-out villains, and I felt like you could have done more to build them up to show that they weren't. Like, I wish Danica had been somebody who, if you would have shown Neil McDonough's character, Harlan, berating his daughter, you'll never make it. Like, this is my world. You're a child, even though they're hundreds of the years old. Right. They're Methuselahs. Like, you could have made him more of a sympathetic character. Kind of like going back to season 1 with Bancroft, how he was treating his kids. Yes. That kind of gets you like, oh, then you're more willing to buy into that. And then also Carrera, I wish he would have done better with the whole idea behind this guy showing the fatherly advice he was giving Takeshi. When in the beginning, when you could have shown why he was willing to do such horrible things in the name of SeaTac, in the name, because this is the father figure he had when his own dad was almost trying to kill him and his sister.
Right.
Like, you just set him up to be this villain, and it wasn't until towards the end where Takeshi was like, why do you have such a hard-on for this guy? And he was like, because he could have been the greatest. Like, that whole idea behind a surrogate father, I felt like that could have been better. And that's why I said those characters, the actors themselves are great. Like, the guy who played Carrera, man, he was, I hated him. Like, every time he walked on the screen, I was like, what kind of evil thing you about to do today?
Yeah.
You pulling out girls' teeth? And I was like,
yeah,
what the?
That was wild.
I was like, dude. But then I was like, I kind of felt something about him when he ran out and he saw all these people lined up on rockets shot up in the sky for fireworks.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, maybe we'll get to see a little bit of that other side to him. And we did. And I was like, oh, that's where I kind of feel like this show missed a lot of marks. But I will say the idea of Dig and her archaeologist friends and that whole idea, that conversation between about serving humans and we serve ourselves was great.
Yeah.
I thought Lieutenant Gaeta coming back from Battlestar Galactica was awesome.
Which one was that?
He was, remember when Poe went into the place where he found out Harlan wasn't even in there, and it was a myth?
Yeah.
Thought,
that guy. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I thought that was great. The best thing I can say about this show, and to me, was Chris Connor deserves some type of award. I don't know what y'all got for him, sci-fi's or whatever, BAFTAs, whatever Emmy nominations.
Yeah,
Chris
he did a
Connor
great
carried this show.
Yeah.
Poe, like, he made me want to go back and read Edgar Allan Poe stuff. He made me like, I was like, that's the best Edgar Allan Poe I have seen on screen. That whole idea of him trying to figure out who he was. Who would he be once he died? Like, the idea when he figured out, I'm going to die.
Yeah.
And that conversation he had at the end with Takeshi Kovacs, where he was like, I'm going to die, but I'm going to make the last moments of my life mean something. And then when he was writing down, he was like,
I guess he wrote Takeshi's code down to bring him back to do whatever.
But the whole idea behind him and what he was going through, to me, carried this entire show. And my hat's off to you, Chris Connor, because when you look at his headshot and you look at the character he played, they look nothing alike.
Yeah. Yeah. You got anything else?
I want to see season 3.
It seems like we bagged on a lot, but I think it's because we like the show and what it can stand for and what it did in season 1. So we're just like, we just want to see it do better, just because we know it has the potential.
And because I feel like season 1 was pretty good.
Yeah.
Season 1 to me was pretty good, and I just felt like this was kind of, and another thing, I guess I feel like Anthony Mackie's a good actor. Go watch that Black Mirror episode. Like, that's the Anthony Mackie I wanted, and I feel like I didn't get that. And he was still great, but he wasn't as good as he could have been.
Right.
Kind of like what Carrera said.
I think that's how we wrap this up. Thanks for, I'm glad you made me do this and watch this show, because I really enjoyed it. I guess you can use this ammo to make me watch other stupid shows now, so that's cool.
No, I mean, I push you every now and then. I'm like, you trust me, you'll enjoy it.
Yeah.
I'm really interested to see if they get a season 3 and what they do with season 3, because I'm gonna be honest with you, I want to see not the older Takeshi. I want to see what happens now that Takeshi's out, because you have 2 of them running around now.
Right.
You have Anthony Mackie's sleeve, or Anthony Mackie's
stack. Yeah.
The older Takeshi, and you have a younger one.
Yeah.
I would like to see Takeshi back in his sleeve, whether it's older or younger, but I want a show where both of them are involved, and you have one with different, 2 of them having different experiences, but being the same person. And what is that like? Like, to me, that's going to be interesting. Okay. That's what I want for season 3. Because I feel like William Lee needs, you need to just give him a season. Yeah. Let's see what happens.
That's it for us on this. Like, comment, subscribe for more videos and reviews from us on YouTube. But in addition to YouTube, where else can I find us?
WLTX.com,
Uh-huh.
Twitter,
Yeah.
Instagram,
Yeah.
Facebook.
That's it.
Is that it?
That's it.
I feel like there's like so many more social media websites we should be on.
Probably, but I mean,
We barely get stuff on those
yeah.
ones that
You want to be on TikTok?
No.
Oh, okay.
Nah, man, that's national security risk right there, baby. Espionage. Don't trust it.